Hey, it's Dennis. Welcome to my channel. Listen, today I'm going to give you access to all the information that you need to be a good foreman. And you need to understand that being a good electrician doesn't make you a good foreman. Being an electrician buys you the opportunity to become a foreman. Okay, people will recognize you for your skills and your hard work and your knowledge, and then they'll offer you the opportunity to step up to a new level and become a foreman. But when you do that, there's a whole other skill set that you have to learn in order to be successful. Some of those skills might include crew management, motivation, understanding the estimate, and in some cases you may even need to create your own estimate. Budget control, scheduling, schedule management, purchasing, possibly even negotiating skills so that you can negotiate good pricing. There's just a lot of new skills that you need to learn in order to be successful in this new position. And I'm going to give you access to that information today, so let's get this thing started. Okay, so I went through the same exact process when I was a young journeyman and became very skilled at what I was doing, and eventually got the opportunity to run some work for a company. And most of your companies don't understand that, you need some additional specialized training in order to succeed for them. They think because you're a good journeyman, you're going to be a good foreman. Very rare that they give you any training whatsoever. Some will give you training on some new paperwork that you have to fill out. Very rare that they'll give you some type of actual foreman training. And the ones that do give you foreman training, let's talk about what's a successful project. In my mind, a successful project is completing on schedule and completing at or under budget. Those are the two things, and those are the two things that I'm going to teach you. That's what we're going to focus on, because if you complete on time and you complete at or under budget, they're going to give you another project. You're going to be successful. They're going to ask you to run project after project after project for them. Okay, and when you get to that point, that's when your income starts going up, because you become valuable. Okay, the person that can go out there and run a project and complete on time and complete on budget is the one who commands the highest wage. And that's what we're going to focus on. I remember when I first became a foreman, I went to work for a company. They did small commercial projects and some multifamily stuff. And at the time, I was working on a fourplex. And for some reason, I had to go in and talk to the owner of the company. And so I drove into the office, and I had one of my journeymen with me. And when we got to the shop, I told him, hey, I'm going to run in and talk to the contractor. While I do that, go over to the tool crib and grab a hole hog. So we had to drill through some wood framing. So I went in and I talked to the contractor, and when I was done, I met up with this journeyman and I asked him, I said, hey, did you get the hole hog? And he said, no, there weren't any in the tool crib. The only drill that was left in there was the dentist drill. Well, I didn't know what a dentist drill was, so I asked him, I said, what's the dentist drill? He said, that big metal drill, that we have. And this particular contractor had this 3/4 inch chuck Milwaukee hole shooter It was old, it was ancient, it was all metal. There wasn't a bit of plastic on it. And, if you were drilling with this thing and it hit a knot, it was very powerful. It'd twist you up like a pretzel. And nobody, wanted to use it. That's why it was in there, right? And so I asked him, I said, well, why do you call that the dentist drill? And he said, well, that's what everybody calls it, because it's a bitch to work with. And that had a real profound effect on me, because I thought I was a nice guy. Okay. And I thought about that. I thought about that for several days, and I decided, that guy's probably right. Because I didn't have any management skills, and all I knew was, hurry up, hurry up, hurry up. And I'd wave my arms, and I'd stomp my feet, and I'd pound my fist and say, hurry up, all day long. And, as a result of that, I made that contractor money. But nobody liked working with me. And I thought, well, look, Dennis, you got some work to do. There's got to be a way to manage people without yelling and screaming and pounding your fist all day. And so I started studying. I started reading books. I read books for probably 10 years. I would go through every used bookstore in town on the weekends, and I'd grab any book I thought would help me be a better manager. And I read things on, of course, management and dealing with difficult people and how to motivate people and scheduling and accounting and negotiating, just anything, any skill I thought that would make me a better foreman. And I probably did this for like 10 years. And, you can read through a book and you might read 300 pages and learn one or two, nuggets that you can actually try to implement. And so I would read these books. I would, learn one or two things out of a book that I thought would suit my needs. I'd take it out to the field and test it. Some of those worked, some didn't. I'd throw the ones aside that didn't work, and I'd hang on to the ones that did, and started building this system of field management, how to manage people in the field profitably without being a tyrant, okay? But there was always one thing that I couldn't solve. And that problem was, how fast do I need these people to move? How fast do I need them to move in order to create a profitable project? And so I really, at the time, had two personas. I had this life at work where I was a tyrant, stomping my feet and waving my arms and yelling and screaming, hurry up all day. And then I would try to go home and shift gears, right? You got to hit that switch when you walk through the door at home so that, you can be the loving father and husband and have a family life. But, as hard as I tried, it was just difficult to shift that gear when I walked through that threshold. And so I ended up being a tyrant at home and a tyrant at work. I wanted everyone to line up single file and march, whether I was at home or whether I was at work, and it really bothered me. And I kept thinking I shouldn't have to be two different people every day. And I kept searching and kept reading and kept studying, and I didn't give it up. I didn't let go. I kept looking for that answer. as I learned more and more skills and started to understand things a little better, one problem that I had with my company was that I didn't trust them to tell me really how well I did on my project. It always seemed to be that, well, it was a good project, Dennis, but we just didn't quite get there, didn't quite make it. Just need to do a little more on the next one, a little more, And I really started to not believe them. I didn't believe that they were being honest with me, and I wanted to know the real numbers. I wanted a way to know the numbers so that I could tell whether they were telling me the truth or not. And I started this process probably around 1982, 83, 84, somewhere in there. And in 1992, I moved to a new city, and I went to work for a very large contractor. They had about 400 electricians working for them at the time. And I actually hired on as a journeyman. And they sent me out to work for one of their foremen who was a notorious tyrant. And I remember, some of the guys, that I told where I was getting assigned, oh man, that guy's, good luck to you, And so anyway, I went out to this project, and lo and behold, me and this guy got along real well. He was a tyrant, but I guess I was a tyrant too. And so I quickly became his right-hand man. But this was an older guy, and he was, way more advanced than me as a foreman. And at one point, he introduced me to the estimate. He actually pulled out a copy of the estimate for his project, and I was like, how'd you get your hands on that? And he said, well, I asked them for it. They gave it to me. And he showed me in there that it not only predicted the material that he needed for his project, a complete material list, but it also showed the installation rates for all the material. So every piece of material had a labor factor assigned to it. And he would group all of the material for certain tasks. Like if someone was running half-inch EMT, he'd grab the EMT and the connectors and the supports and the couplings, group all of those times together to figure out how long it should take him to run 100 feet of pipe. And then he'd go into the job site and he'd watch someone install pipe, and he'd see how many feet of pipe they were installing per hour. And he would kind of track this stuff, so he had a good idea of whether material was getting installed in a timely fashion. And I thought, oh man, this is what I've been searching for. This is what I've been looking for to answer that question. How fast does my crew have to move in order to complete this project on time and on budget? And so I started studying estimating, and eventually after that I went to work for another contractor, a little smaller, but they handed me a project. I went to work there as a foreman, and I did my own takeoff of my project. I actually used a means book, which is really kind of old school. At the time, This is early 90s. Computers were kind of a new thing. People were using computers to estimate at the time, but I certainly didn't have a computer. And so I used a ledger sheet, and I took off every piece of material for the project and put the labor factor on the side and totaled everything up, came up with a total of hours, and then kind of matched that to the hours that I was told I had on this project and adjusted them by percentages until my total hours matched their total hours. And then I could use this for scheduling my project, my crews, and tracking them. And so from there, then I started creating some real elaborate spreadsheets so that I could assign a specific task to workers and then track their time every day to see if they were completing within the constraints of the estimate, to see if I was staying on track or not. And there's some things I learned through that experience, and the most important of which is that when you give someone a specific task and tell them exactly how much time they have to complete it, and then follow that up by saying that if you succeed, you're a superstar, and if you don't, you're costing the company money, it puts a lot of pressure on them to perform. And so now I could just write schedules and deliver them to each crew member and say, this is your work for the next 2 weeks. This is what you need to do, and this is how long it should take. And, you're either going to be a superstar or you're going to cost the company money. When you tell people that, they just magically get it done on time, especially when they know that you're actually recording their hours against it. I made them record their time against each task and report it to me. And things just magically started getting done on time. So now all of a sudden I had this method of tracking my production that told me how fast my people needed to move in order to complete my project on budget and on time. And because I knew the wage that everyone was getting paid, I was able to capture those labor dollars as well, so that I could track my profitability. And I didn't have to yell and scream anymore. All I had to do is say, here's what I need you to do, and here's how much time you have to complete it. And if you succeed, you're a superstar, and if you don't, you're costing the company money, and magically things just happened. So I was able to, quit being a tyrant. I was able to start using some of these skills that I'd studied and learned over the last 10 years, start implementing them. And I built this into a system because what I wanted was a set of practices that I could implement on every project and get the same result time after time. And so I kept working with this and refining, and, these spreadsheets got expanded and became pretty complex. And so I remember one time on that particular project, I was in my project manager's office talking to him. And at some point he said, well, let's see how many hours you've used on your project. And I spit the number out to him right off the top of my head. because I looked at it every day. And, he kind of laughed. And so he had a computer, he opened up his accounting software, and he went in there and looked around, and my number was only like 1 or 2 hours off from what he had in his accounting system. And he was shocked. And he said, how'd you do that? How did you know that? I said, well, I track it every day. I have a system I built, and I track that every day. I know exactly how many hours I've used and how many I have left. And, I showed him my system, and then he started calling me every once in a while. And he would say, hey, Dennis, I got this guy. All the foremen are saying he isn't worth a darn. You can't make any money with him. And I want you to run him through your system, and I want you to tell me if he's worth a darn or not. And he'd send him out to my project. And I'd do the same thing. I'd write a schedule with his name on it and assign him his tasks and say, here, this is how much time you have. You're either a superstar or you're costing the company money. Now, some of these workers, I discovered, needed a little bit of training. Maybe they weren't that good at running pipe, and I'd give them a pipe bending lesson. I'd teach them what they need to know in order to succeed. And I never fired a single one of them. And I would get back to him and I'd tell him, you know what? This guy right here, he ain't a speedball, but he's making you money. He's, keeping up with your estimate production goals. So if it was me, I wouldn't get rid of him. You don't know what you're going to get instead. As long as a worker is keeping up with those goals, they don't have to run past them. You're still going to, end on budget, and especially when you blend them in with some guys who are running ahead of the schedule. I had a guy on that same project named Charlie that, I'd hand him a 2-week schedule, and by Thursday of the first week, he was already working on Wednesday of the second week. So when you blend these people together, you get a good overall result. And life, kind of became pretty good for me because it took a lot of pressure off. The pressure wasn't on me anymore to perform. The pressure was on the employee. I took the pressure off my back and I put it on the employee's back and distributed amongst the whole crew. They were all carrying that burden. They were the ones that had to get the work done on time. All I had to do was tell them how much time they had. And things just magically started happening, okay? And so I went along like that and improved my spreadsheets. I tested that stuff for like 20 years. I ran along like that. And every time I used that system for a contractor, they came to me at the end of the job and said, wow, that was great. Can you do that again? And I did discover some contractors who weren't being honest with me. Project manager to come back and tell me at the end of the job, well, that was pretty good, Dennis, but, we almost made it, almost. We got real close on that one. And I knew they were full of beans because I had the numbers, because I did this stuff in the background. I didn't tell them what I was doing unless they asked. And so I ran along like that for probably 20 years. And then in 2011, I decided to convert these spreadsheets into actual software just to make it, get it all in one place. So I didn't have a bunch of disjointed spreadsheets. Could all flow real nice, through the whole system. And so now I'm going to teach you that entire system. and I'm going to give you that information for free. Down below here is a link to my website. You can surf over there. Right at the top, there's a button for free foreman training. And if you click on that and sign up, it will send you a video a day for 12 days. I call it a 12-day challenge. Teaches you all of the skills that you need, in my opinion, to run a profitable project and complete it on time in 12 short days. So it won't cost you a thing. All you need to do is sign up and watch a 30 or 40-minute video every day. By the end of that time, you're going to understand my entire process and what I do. Since I converted those spreadsheets to software, my own success has exploded, just exploded. Income went up. Size of projects has gone way up. Success has gone way up. So if you're looking to be a better foreman, if you are a good journeyman electrician and you'd like to promote to foreman, or if you're already a foreman and you want to be a better foreman, all the information's in there. Hit the link below, surf to my website, click on the button, sign up. It'll automatically send you a video every day for 12 days. At the end of that 12 days, I promise you, you are going to have a way better understanding of your role as an electrical foreman and how to succeed than you do right now. Okay, thanks for checking in, guys. I appreciate you all.